guess I'd say we're here because we want to adopt a baby. Several years ago, we decided that we wanted to start a family, and we haven't been able to have kids biologically for reasons that are unknown to us. And at the time that we were faced with, the option to proceed was invasive and extensive fertility measures, we decided that we would rather provide a home to someone who would already be alive. So we began looking at adoption, and it's been a long and very painful process to get where we are today. But honestly, I can say today that we are excited for the route that we're on, and what we've chosen to do is to adopt probably out of state where there are more non-white babies who need homes and there are people who want to adopt them. And so we feel like for us, how we want to create a family with God's help is through adoption, and adopting somebody who might not otherwise have a home or who might have a difficult time finding a home. So we are praying that God will guide us to a birth mom and a child that would be a good match for us, that we would be guided to someone who could benefit from having us as parents.
We're here because we believe we saw we were called to have kids, and we've done our part, and it's not an option. So we're looking at what other ways we can accomplish that, and have actually found that not only can we actually start a family, but we can do things that actually make a difference in other people's lives, the widows and orphans.
I understand people, I've talked to people who've adopted who said it was hard enough for us that we couldn't have biological children, and we didn't want to be reminded everywhere we went, someplace as a family, that these were not our biological children. I've never really felt that way, and I feel like I've been open to any race. I've had some doubts or questions when I've thought, okay, how will we connect that child to their own culture? How will we help them? We live in a pretty ethnically diverse area, but so I've thought about that and the challenges that would be there. I think though, because there's so much of a need, it feels like we're giving somebody a home and we're going to do the best that we can to help them navigate the racial issues and the transracial family issues, and just try to be aware of that. And so I think it will stretch us and grow us. Not that being a parent, I'm sure that being a parent is hard enough on its own, but I think it's really going to stretch us and grow us in ways that wouldn't otherwise. So
We met with a doctor where we found out that it was pretty improbable we're going to have kids on our own. And I realized then that if we wanted to proceed, it would be adoption. And I just kind of my impulse, just what I thought was, it would be fun is to have a black boy. And it wasn't a real powerful, like, it was this really light preference, but it was really present. But I kind of set that aside, and what we, for some reason, the racial part never really mattered to us. And so then the question is, where is the need? And there are people who, for whatever reason, maybe it really is an important thing, whatever the race of the kid is. I don't judge that at all. That's a very hard place to be when you're trying to build a family. But when we looked at where the need was, it lined up exactly with what my original thought had been. So we just charged ahead with it.
but Ben said, if we had a biological kid, this isn't the main reason, but if we had a biological child, it would be white. So if we can't have biological kids, we should do something different. Mm-hmm.
Well, the cost is somewhat variable because there's different expenses that you just can't predict. But we're probably looking at a minimum of $38,000, and $38,000 to like $45,000 would be our guess for fees related specifically to adoption agencies and consulting fees and things like that. And then in addition to that, there's some travel fees because most likely the adoption will be out of state. We'll have to travel and stay there and take care of the legal stuff.
And so the costs, so we're paying $4,000 to a Christian consulting agency, and they're there to be advocates for us and to guide us through this entire process and to help us match with an agency and a parent who would be a good match for us. And then there are the agency fees that will be in another state, and so that's at least $38,000 because these are typically larger national agencies who have a lot of expenses. They're paying their social workers, their admin. They do provide birth support to the birth mother, a lot of counseling for her throughout the whole process, including postpartum, and even sometimes paying for doctor's appointments and living fees. So part of that is care for the mother. And then, of course, all these people are working with people who then don't go on to choose adoption, so there's just a lot of staff involvement. Then, because we most likely will be adopting out of state because there's greater need in certain parts of the country than in others, we will have to stay there for 2 weeks to finalize the adoption in that state before we can bring our baby back to Oregon. So one thing with the consultants we're going to work with is they have a very fast average wait time. So agencies in Oregon, you're looking at least 2 years probably between when you start or even later and when you bring a baby home, because the agency we're working with or the consultants we're working with are working with agencies who have a lot of need. Their average wait time is 4.5 months from when you get to the place where you're through your home study and you can start showing prospective birth parents your profile. The average time from that to bringing a baby home is 4.5 months on average. So it could be, I've talked with some people where they match the next day, other people 2 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, and then the baby is born probably a few months after that. So it could happen very fast. So which makes our fundraising efforts really important because we'll have to start paying, once we match, we have to start paying the agency that big chunk of $38,000. So.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is if folks could just pray for us. If I could only get one thing, actually, I would ask for people to pray for us.
And I guess I would also say that it's been really hard for me to be open with people about what we're going through at every step of the way, from infertility to thinking about adoption to where we are now. But as I've told more people, it's been really good for me. Like the support and the affirmation has been really encouraging. And I was adamantly opposed to ever fundraising, and this is still really hard for me, but I feel like we are doing this together as a community, that we're inviting with people to partner with us and to help us make this a possibility.